Please welcome co-founder and CEO Lola, Paul English, and welcome back to the stage, Rafat Ali.
All right, that was an awesome morning, by the way, so far. So we're continuing on our hardcore tech track. We're very, very, very excited to have Paul here from Lola. He's also the co-founder of Kayak, that small little company that none of you have ever used their site or app. He's now trying to solve a very, very, very interesting problem, which is mixing the old and new. And the new is not just like internet. New is like 5 generations ahead internet. So for those of you who don't know what Lola is, explain, Paul, what Lola is. Thank you again for being here.
Yeah, sure. Great to be here. So Lola is all about connecting you in real time to a team of travel professionals that can help you with all of your research and planning and booking of travel. It's an app. So right now we're on iPhone. You download the app. It looks like a messaging app, but you can type to travel agents 24/7, and they will help do all the planning for you.
So after selling cigarettes to the whole country, now you want to sell the cure for essentially travel agents you disintermediated, and now you want to bring the travel agents back into it.
Yeah, the irony has been pointed out before. You know, one of the things that I was known for at Kayak, I managed the design team at Kayak kind of on a day-to-day basis, but I also was obsessed with talking to customers daily. So we had the infamous red phone, which sat on my desk, and the phone number was on Kayak's website. We did all the email support, the programmers did all the support, took all the phone calls, and I just found that with Lola, I'm kind of taking it up a notch where we're not just talking to the customers who call us, we're going to talk to every customer. And it's by phone, by email, or by chat.
So right now it's public, because I think there's some gating factor.
Yeah, so the app is in the App Store right now. Anyone can download it for iPhone. We'll come out on Android and desktop sometime in Q1. There is a wait list, so we're clearing people as fast as we can. Right now we have 20 travel agents that work.
And these are full-time employed by
full-time employees with stock and benefits and salary and everything else. They're not Uber drivers. They're full employees and stockholders.
So, and as you think about scale, because everything you've done is about scale,
yeah.
How do you think about the human scale here?
So we're now planning phase 2 of travel agents. Phase 2, we're going to be opening a call center somewhere in the U.S., not quite sure yet, and an initial
sort of one step removed from the agents, a call center.
Yeah, so the agents we have right now are actually located in Boston. The reason they're in Boston is that's where the engineers are. I have 3 engineering teams working on Lola right now. One is building the mobile app. A second one is an AI team, a 5-person AI machine learning team. And the third team, which is the largest, is actually building all the tool for the travel agents. And I just have this belief that the only way you can revolutionize things for travelers is if you first revolutionize things for travel agents. The first phase, the agents are in Boston because I want them sitting next to the programmers so they can kind of debug software as it's being written. Second phase will be someplace outside of Boston, probably in the US. And then the third phase is the most exciting, which is when we open the platform to anyone around the world who wants to apply to be a travel agent on the platform.
As like a certified travel agent? Because I know there are certifications and...
Right, so we'll have an online exam followed by a Skype video exam. We already have a couple of remote workers that has allowed us to test what this looks like when someone's not working literally in our office. But I think phase 2 for us is still something under our control. And then phase 3 will be where we open it up.
And are you looking at a certain segment of market? Because, and was the thought when you started thinking about Lola, one, I would have retired and done with it after you did Kayak, but okay. When you started thinking about Lola, did you say, here's what travel agents are not doing today that I would like to do? Or like, explain the genesis.
Yeah, the genesis for Lola was actually maybe a little bit unsexy. I don't know if you're familiar with a company called Virtuoso. It gave you a remote virtual assistant, so you could have a remote secretary, executive assistant.
It's hard to say. That's probably why I haven't heard of it.
I was a customer of Virtuoso, and Virtuoso had a famous implosion where one day they emailed all their customers and said, we're shutting down service today. Wow. And so people who had a trained executive assistant doing all of their planning lost them immediately in one day. And so my co-founder and I originally thought to create a mobile app to help you manage a remote assistant. And it was one of our investors, actually Joel Cutler, General Catalyst, who when he heard the idea said, that sounds like a really great idea, but why don't you do it just for travel? And I was like, duh, like why didn't I think of that?
Sure, yeah.
So, yeah.
So the AI part, explain the AI part, because yesterday Dara talked a bunch about it. I think Killian, she was here, the CEO of Booking.com, she talked about it. The reunion panel we had also talked about AI. So AI is not something in the future, it's happening today.
It's happening today, and there's two main ways in which we use AI in the platform today. One is a personalization engine, so we look at your past travel, we use that to predict future travel. And then the second thing is building...
Hold on a second. So you're saying past travel to predict future travel. That's not an easy answer.
No. Yeah, and we... and I have to be careful I can speak about what's in Lola that's in the App Store today versus the version coming
Tell
out.
everything. Nobody's here.
The new version's going to go a lot further, but one part is just the predictive analytics, trying to anticipate and predict what type of hotel someone wants, what type of travel they need. The second component of AI for us is the NLU, a natural language understanding. We are lucky to have a pretty amazing guy leading our AI team. It's a guy named Brian Healy.
You just hired from Amazon.
Just hired from Amazon. He led a team of 20 data scientists building the Alexa voice service. So he has pretty deep roots in sort of NLU, and we're building NLU capability in the platform.
So is voice a part of it?
So voice is a part of it. I did an experiment a couple weeks ago. It was kind of interesting, surprised me, where we asked each one of our travel agents to, as they're messaging with our travelers, which we're doing, again, 24/7, to offer to call them on the phone. Because I was thinking many times talking on the phone is much quicker than typing in a text conversation. In a one-week test, we only had a single customer who wanted to talk on the phone. And I think the only analogy I can think of from personal experience is when you call an Uber driver using the app, and then the driver calls you on the phone and says, "Where are you?" It's like, I just effing typed into the app.
Yeah.
Why are you calling me?
Yeah.
And so I think people now have become used to the fact that messaging apps allow you to multi-process, multitask, and do multiple things at the same time. And when you're locked on a phone call, you're blocked. And so people...
Like voice search, though, is...
Voice search. So right now, you can certainly use voice to text built into the OS. The NLU that we're working on is going to be focused on text, so people type in a sentence, trying to parse that sentence, get intent out of it, and then giving advice to the agent. And the way we work right now, we're having this raging debate internally about should our positioning be human-led AI or should our positioning be AI backed by humans? And it's a pretty significant difference.
I'm guessing the ad campaign for neither was going to work. Cause
yeah, this is for internal positioning, not really for marketing. But again, the difference is significant. And I'll give you an example. So I was, in my last trip to New York, I used Lola, of course. I use Lola for all my travel. It's pretty convenient. And I was coming to New York to visit my brother and his wife and their 6-year-old grandchild. And so I had to sort of do a fly in, fly out. I had a lot of stuff going on in Boston. I was hosting a dinner that night. So I really only was available like half a day in New York. So I was texting with the Lola travel agent. And as is often the case when you're talking with a human, you tell a little bit more than you would tell if you're on a site like Expedia or Kayak. And the agent was searching for getting me flights, finding a breakfast place for 5 people. And they were asking me who I was traveling with. And I said, oh, yeah, my brother, and I'm excited to meet his 6-year-old grandson. Oh, what's his name? His name is Diego. Has he been to New York before? And the agent sometimes knows when you're in a talkative mode. Sometimes you're not in a talkative mode. But I was telling them a little bit about the trip. And they said, has he been to New York before? I said, no. And they said, well, maybe we should find some really fun kid activity. How about, if you want to splurge, how about sending Diego and your brother to the Lion King? And I said, sure, and they bought me tickets. So Lola is able to do anything related to that. Now, the issue about are we human-led AI, or are we AI backed by human? In that case, when I typed into the iPhone app, I'm traveling with his 6-year-old grandson, if the AI were a little bit more sophisticated, it would have seen that, picked up that phrase, and suggested kid activities immediately. Our AI is not that sophisticated yet. It's getting smarter week by week. But what we were able to do is the human pick that up. They could then click on 6-year-old. They can tag it to child activities. And therefore, if I asked for a hotel, they'd find me a hotel with a pool. So there's a case where there's a training thing going on where the humans are teaching the AI to pick up phrases the AI might not be used to.
Do you think that just a travel assistant versus a larger assistant, as you very well know, Operator and all these others, Magic, are trying to do larger things than just travel.
Yeah, I really do. We definitely will appeal to the more frequent traveler than the casual traveler. I think if someone travels 4 to 6 times a year or more, a travel assistant is essential and just works really well. I remember many years ago, I had an e-commerce company which I sold to Intuit. I served as VP technology for Intuit, and one of the functions I built for them is an innovation lab. We look at the science of how innovation happens. There was a professor at MIT named Eric von Hippel, and he has a process for innovation called lead user. And he said, if you want to do something innovative, what you should do is find a user who has that problem, but in an extreme fashion, and then look at how they do their work and see if you can generalize it to the mass market. So in travel, my extreme traveler user is the VP of sales. At the end of the quarter, he or she is flying all over the country trying to close deals, helping the regional sales manager. And so you ask yourself, what does a VP of sales have as their travel UI? Like, what app do they use? What service do they use? They use something called an executive assistant, because they can say simple things to their EA. They can say, I need to be at Orbitz. I need to then go visit Expedia. I want to be home for my kid's soccer game on Saturday. And that's all they need to say. The assistant knows that Orbitz is in Chicago. They know that Expedia is in Seattle. They know what hotels you like. And with one simple sentence, your EA, if they're well-trained and you travel a lot, can do an extraordinary amount of work for you. And that's the model we're doing, is if we know a bit about your travel habits and your travel past, and we get to know you, with very short utterances, we can pull a whole trip together for you.
So wouldn't that make humans obsolete then? If you take it to the logical extreme and then travel agents aren't even there?
Make the agents obsolete?
Yeah.
No, there'll always be need for agents. I mean, I think on the one hand, the agents, I think, can have more compassion and empathy for your travel. I think it's good that travel is frequently a very stressful thing. Having a live human who's kind of there with you on the trip and helping you is
You don't have to sell me on the value of travel agents. What I'm saying is, if AI becomes this, like AI and you and 20 other people are solving the same problem. Jeff Bezos is trying to solve similar problems. If it becomes so good at anticipating in travel, and let's say driverless cars come in, so it solves a lot of the uncertainty in travel as well.
Yeah.
Is there a logical extreme to this?
Yeah, so the humans then should do things that humans can do and AI can't do. So for example, you're flying to, let's say, to that Expedia meeting, you're flying through Chicago on your way to Seattle. It's in the winter, there's a snowstorm, your flight gets delayed. By the time you land, a human Lola travel agent has already rebooked you, and there's a message in your app saying, you missed your connecting flight, I booked you for the next flight, United, that leaves at gate 34 in 25 minutes. I've already rebooked you. Having a human who can actually call the airline, or the morning you check into a hotel, a Lola travel agent will call the hotel and say, we have an important guest staying this morning. Would like to know if there's any way we can get them a better room, and negotiate a better room for you, in many cases for free. That's something that AI can't do.
So Matthew Upchurch, who's here, Virtuoso. Matthew, are you here in the room? Matthew's right there. He's going to say, I do that.
Matthew does do that.
So are you friends with him? Or are you trying to disrupt him?
Interestingly, Matthew and I are having lunch today after this session. No, Matthew, we are actually a Virtuoso partner. I'm a huge fan of the Virtuoso platform and hotel benefits in particular that we offer to our members. The difference between Virtuoso and Lola is we're a tech company. So we're building mobile apps, we're building desktop apps, and in the case where you want to talk to a travel agent just on the phone, I think Virtuoso agents are an amazing solution. I think there's a lot of incredible Virtuoso agents. In the case where you want to use an app and have it integrated with your calendar, your contacts, and everything else, we're a tech company, I'm a programmer. It's going to be a very different type of solution than having it just live on the phone.
Let's track this a little bit in terms of entrepreneurship in general. What's with Boston? Why do all the sort of big travel tech companies come out of Boston? Versus, let's say, Silicon Valley. Well, I mean, if you look at Expedia, Priceline, Kayak, many others, none of them came out of Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that. In Boston, certainly, with ITA Software, TripAdvisor, Kayak. Kayak, actually, we're headquartered in Connecticut, but most of the team was in Boston. I think 2/3 of the company were engineering where we had it. I would like to say it's because the veterans of one travel startup leave and start another one. Unfortunately, we have this very irritating, antiquated legal system in Massachusetts which allows non-competes to exist. So it's hard for people to leave ITA and create a travel company, or to leave Kayak and try to create a travel company. My non-compete with Priceline was 18 months. I left Priceline in December 2013. I incorporated Lola on July 7, 2015, so it was like 18 months and a week. I was kind of banned from working in the travel industry for a year and a half.
What were you doing?
I was running an incubator. It's kind of what I'm
Right,
told
that's true.
now. The investors who backed me, they said, yeah, we get it. Entrepreneur, coming off a big hit, you want to do an incubator, which is really about reconnecting what other people are doing in startups. But they had told me after they backed me, these are the guys who backed me at Kayak, that their real investment in my incubator was just hoping I was going to create another travel company.
So creating a travel company today, trying to go up against, in the booking, sort of focusing on the booking part of the world, everybody's has tried and failed against the big two behemoths, at least in the northern hemisphere. You have raised how much?
20 million for the Series A.
Certainly not enough. Like in the competing against those big companies, is it a matter of money or is it a matter of leap 10x?
No, I mean at Kayak we raised 7 in the Series A. The difference between a startup and a big company is a startup can do extremely rapid cycles. They don't have set rules. There's no sacred cows. And the startup can try different things. They can pivot. They can try completely different things kind of week to week. The reason big companies acquire little companies is to get innovation. Innovation doesn't happen in big companies. I don't think there's been an innovation in history that happened with 10 people in a room. Innovation happens with small teams. And the way little companies like Kayak become big companies is you hire better teams and you out-innovate. I remember we were doing a deal, Kayak was founded in January 2004, and we were doing a deal with AOL, which was, not to be harsh, but less irrelevant in 2004 than they are today. And we were competing against some real travel companies trying to take over the travel portal at AOL, and I think I had 10 guys on my team. And AOL liked my co-founder and I, but they're like, you're new, why would we trust you? We have, a bazillion searches a day. And I basically said, okay, we don't yet have the platform that Expedia has, but get Dara's 10 smartest people in the room, get my 10 smartest people in the room, and then decide. And I think that startups, if they're great at recruiting, can recruit special teams. And I think all innovation happens from forming special teams. And it's easier to do in a startup than in a big company.
So, and there are a bunch of startups here, tons of startups that are trying to attack different parts, not just the booking part of it. Why do you think innovation or companies haven't come out of, in travel, in the startup world, have not been able to crack other parts of travel outside of the booking funnel?
Such as?
There's no name there to say, meaning like what are the companies that have not, how come Trip Inspiration startups, there were 20 different startups, have not worked?
Well, I think a lot of startups in travel have gone after what I call the blah, blah, blah of travel, which is we're going to create this app for Facebook where people talking about Spain want to get together for a bachelor party, and one guy lives in Vegas, one guy lives in LA, one guy lives in Boston. They're going to try to figure out how to travel together. That's not the real world. That's not actually how people travel. A lot of travel startups are focused on people talking about travel and focused on the 1% case. I think the way to be successful at travel is you get as close as you can to the transaction. You try to figure out where people actually spending the money, what percent of transactions, what type of transactions are the majority, and try to build something as close to the transaction as possible. Like at Kayak, we were terrible at SEO, and it's not that we didn't try. We tried half a dozen times, but we never were good at creating unique content. The thing we were really, really good at was building a search engine.
Right. In terms of the investor environment today of investing in travel startups, what are investors missing? There are a lot of investors that are not specialty, and there are 5 that are specialty. Joel is certainly among the best of them. What are investors excited about in travel today as you're talking and raising money from them?
Yeah, I mean, I consult for a number of venture firms in California and in Boston, and I would first of all just say for members of the audience who are running startups today and thinking about your Series A or Series B, it's my observation consulting for VC firms that there's 3 things people look for, and these are like top tier. I would say 70% is who are the founders, Are they aggressive? Are they hungry? Are they ethical? Are they fun? Can they recruit? And that's 70% of the decision. 20% of the decision is, what problem are you trying to solve? Is it a problem that a lot of people have? Is it a problem that's being solved by billion-dollar companies today, but maybe can be done a different way? And then 10% of the investment decision is, tell me what you're working on. And I'm exaggerating a little bit because what you're working on actually is a little bit important, but I think a lot of travel startups, as well as other startups, lose sight of the fact that the most important thing you can do as an entrepreneur is recruit. And if you can build a team that is extraordinary, the investors will feel the mojo when you're in the room, and they'll basically decide there's something very, very special about this team. We want to throw money at it.
Always be hiring.
Always be hiring.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot.